with the first round of the NFL draft concluding, and what a first round it was. Some crazy ass picks. I'm gonna grade every single pick in the first round, starting with the Bears and Caleb Williams. We're gonna get an A plus because I meant duh. It was a consensus first pick and you picked them. There's really nothing else you can do. Jaden Daniels to the Commanders is also gonna get an A plus. The consensus second pick, and what else are you gonna do? And Drake May to the Patriots, also an A plus. I know that's quick. I know we're going through these first three quarterbacks quick. I've talked about them a lot in mock drafts. Pretty much been mocking them here for the past month or so. And also, let's just go to Marvin Harrison Jr., also an A plus. I mean, the first four picks were the first four picks. They were always the first four picks unless someone traded. We'll go to the Chargers and we'll go to Joe Alt. I I don't know whether or not to give them an A plus because I think Joe Alt is the right pick here if you are making if you're sticking and picking, which was what they did. But I really think they should have traded down, get more draft capital. So that's why they're only going to get an A for Joel. The player is tremendous. The player at the position is tremendous. That's an A plus. I just think the trade out option would have been better. Next, Malik Neighbors to the Giants. I'm maybe some bias, but I'm not going to give it an A plus. Actually, I'm going to give it an A because you could argue quarterback. I don't think it's quarterback, but it's the right pick. I feel like the first six picks were absolutely the right pick, and you can really not argue anybody else. And then it kind of shook up with J.C. Latham. I know a lot of people had J.C. Latham very high, some as high as 5. I wasn't on that bandwagon. I had him at 14. So I'm gonna give this an A minus because you fill a need. I'm just not as high as J.C. Latham as a top 10 pick. And then the draft completely shook up at 8. I really don't want to be harsh, but I'm giving it an F. I meant you're drafting a 24-year-old quarterback to stay behind the franchise quarterback. You're paying 4 years, $200 million guaranteed. If he plays out that whole contract, Kirk Cousins or Michael Penix is going to be 28 by the time he's a starting quarterback. And I didn't like Penix anyway. I had him mocked in the 3rd round. So I don't like Penix as much, and as I may hate Penix as a prospect more than anybody else. And it's just the Falcons. It's the worst spot. Next, Bears, Rome Odunze, also an A. I mean, the only reason it's not an A plus is you could argue they could have got defense, but this Bears offense is electric next year. Vikings, I'm gonna go A minus because we'll go A minus. You didn't have to mortgage your future for JJ McCarthy, and that's the biggest thing. You only had to trade 1 pick, and you got your franchise quarterback. So this probably could be an A. I just don't know if JJ McCarthy is a franchise quarterback. I think in this situation though, in Minnesota, this gives them the best chance to be one. Next to Jets, I was talking with Jets fans. I watched the draft with Jets fans, and they hated this pick. I watched it was 5 Jets fans, I think, and 4 out of the 5 said they did not like this pick. Don't get it. I'm going A. Fashanu, you need guys to plug and play when Morgan Moses and Tyrone Smith. Tyler Smith is the current Cowboys tackle. Tyrone Smith inevitably get hurt, and that's what Fashanu is going to do. The only reason I wasn't going to ever give it an A+, but I think Fuaga could have been a better pick here. I think Nix could, or not Nix, I'm just reading it. Bowers could have been a better pick here because Fuaga you can plug and play at guard at least for now and then switch him to tackle if you need. And then Bowers just get that win now playing maker. Next, Denver, Bo Nix. I don't know what to grade this. I graded an F for Penix. I'm going to only grade this a B minus because 1, I like Nix more of a prospect. And 2, with how the draft was falling, if you wanted Nix, you had to select him here because I guarantee you the Raiders were gonna. With 5 quarterbacks going inside the top 10, I feel like you needed to jump on the quarterback. So I'm gonna give Denver credit there. Next to Raiders, Brock Bowers, A minus, just because of how good the player is. I know they have Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer was selected pick 35. He was the number 1 tight end in the class last year, or didn't get selected as the number 1 tight end, but whatever. And it's not the biggest need, but it's just the player is so good. It's really, you can't ignore that. Next, Saints, Fuaga, A. They really needed everything on the offensive line, and I love Fuaga. I'm probably higher on Fuaga than most. I had him as my tackle, too. So he ends up being tackle 4 in here. Next to Colts, this was a weird pick for the first defender off the board. I wasn't really, they needed Brian Thomas would have been a great pick. Either of the two corners would have been great picks. But they didn't really need edge rusher as much. But again, Latu, the player, is so good, and it doesn't hurt to get more edge rushers. I'm not going to go any A's. I'm going to go B+ just because I feel like they could have filled a need better. Next, Seahawks, you were only going to really draft. I mean, Fatanu and Murphy would have been like the two picks that you would have been the happiest with. And they got one in Byron Murphy. So I'm not going to go A. Purely on the fact, that's the word, purely, that Troy Fautanu I think would have just been the perfect fit and the perfect pick. I'm going to go A- though, because the player for Byron Murphy so good. They needed help on the interior, and that's really it. Next, Minnesota. I'm not going to go. Dallas Turner at pick 17 is an A+. Every day of the week. The thing is, they traded a lot to get him. They dealed into the first round, and then they traded a third, a 4, and a 5 to move up 6 more picks. I'm gonna go A-. I'm gonna go A. Sorry, A. Because you're still getting a franchise edge rusher at pick 17, which is amazing, and one that was projected in the top 10. It's just you traded a lot. That's really it. Next, 18, Amarius Mims. We'll go A-. I think it's I don't want to say all the huge. It's not really even a reach, but I'm just gonna go A-. I really love the player. Next, Rams, Jared Verse, A. He fell. I mean, I think he was expected to fall, but the Rams just kind of swooped him up. I feel like they were gonna get any edge rusher that fell, whether it was Dallas Turner, Laiatu Latu, and Jared Verse, and that's exactly what they did. Next, Steelers, Troy Fautanu. Definitely also an A. I meant he fell a bit. Steelers really needed help on the offensive line. Makes sense. Next, Dolphins. This was a weird pick. Again, like I feel like the Colts is like they need help on defense. So like, can you blame them for getting an edge rusher? It's like no. So I'm gonna go A- here just because I think they need edge rusher a little more. And Chop's like, the athletic upside is humongous for him. This range of players were like steal. We're going to go A for Quinion Mitchell, though. We're not going to go A+, even though I think all 3 of these next guys can get A+. I love Quinion Mitchell, and the Eagles were trying to trade up for him. They were trying to go up to 14 to jump the Colts. They end up sticking and picking and getting him, and they stuck 8 picks later, which is crazy. Next, Jacksonville, Brian Thomas Jr. You lose Calvin Ridley. You need a replacement. I know corner with Terrion Arnold there is also tempting, but it was either one. If they got corner, wide receiver, it was a good pick. Then the Lions trade up for Terrion Arnold, so that's also an A. I mean, he starts to fall, so the Lions, who need a corner really badly, get potentially CB1 at pick 24. Next, Jordan Morgan. I'm going to go B. Because they need offensive line, so the fit's right there. But I don't know. Jordan Morgan at 25, it feels a little rich. Graham Barton, we'll go A-. It's not. They have so many needs, and center was one of them. So actually, we'll keep it. We'll keep it at A-. Next, Darius Robinson. I'll go A- also. I really wish they took Johnny Newton. I think that would have been a really cool fit and a really cool player to see. And, he's obviously going to get drafted at one point today. But it was him or Darius Robinson. So they got one of the 2 guys they need. So maybe A- is a little even harsh. Kansas City, I'm not as big as an Xavier Worthy, but you got a wide receiver. And you got to steal one from Buffalo, which is pretty funny. So we'll go A-. Tyler Guyton to the Dallas Cowboys, that's an A. I mean, you trade down, you could have easily taken him at 24, and it would have been a good pick. But they trade down and get him. So that's always a very good thing. When you get to trade down and get the guy you would have probably taken. It's always great. Next, Baltimore, Nate Wiggins. I love Nate Wiggins. I love the athletic upside. So we'll go. I'm going to go only A- because I feel like offensive line was a bigger need. But corner is also a really big need. So next, the 2 weird wide receivers who I don't think anybody expected to get taken. We'll give them both B minuses. Ricky Pearsall B minus. And then he had that one sick catch. That's why he got drafted here, because they saw that highlight. No, but I just feel like there's so many good wide receivers on the board to make Ricky Pearsall wide receiver 5 or wide receiver 6 taken is crazy. Then Xavier Legette, obviously, again, the same thing, B minus. Like, these fill needs, and I don't mind drafting or reaching for a position like wide receiver, but both of these guys with so many good players, like Keon Coleman, still on the board. Who else is still on the board for wide receivers? Troy Franklin, Adonai Mitchell, Ladd McConkey. That's a lot, and I feel like drafting these guys, just reaching like crazy on these guys, is kind of crazy. But that's the first round. That's gonna do it for this little grades. I think today I'm also gonna have a video on what was it gonna be, like favorite picks maybe. There's gonna be another NFL draft video, and then second round tonight. So let's get it.